Tia. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about starting a bookish journal. I have recently been inspired to start a bookish journal. My mom has, over the last probably, I don't know, many years, my mom has kept a book journal in which she lists the books she read, the author, the title, the date she read it, and then all of her, she actually writes out a synopsis and all of her thoughts about the book. So she ends up with like a page or two on each book, but she doesn't do Goodreads, and so the journal is her way to keep everything together about what she has read, and that way she can go back and look anytime someone asks her, you know, what did you think about blah 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 book, she can just go back and look at it. Then I recently read I'd Rather Be Reading by Anne Bogle, and in there she talks about keeping a book journal and how much she wished that she had kept one her entire life so that she could go back and know everything that she read as a child and a young adult and all of her thoughts on each thing as well. And then finally, my third inspiration for this is Paul at PK's Books, and I will link his video down below. He recently did a video where he did a random number generator, and then he went and looked up the number of the journal entry in his journal for that particular book that he had read to see what it was and what his thoughts were on it. And I thought that was really awesome that all of those people, they get to go back and look specifically at each book, can see what date they read it and exactly what their thoughts on it were. Now, I do use Goodreads, and I can track my reading in there for if I just want to do dates and, you know, a tiny bit of what I was thinking, but I don't write out really long reviews on Goodreads. There are some things that I think about a book that I prefer to keep more private, I guess is how I want to say that. So what I want to do is start my own book journal, and I feel like this is the perfect year to do that in. I recently turned 40, and so I'm going to start now, and hopefully I will have many years in which to keep track of my reading that way. Now, I didn't start this at the beginning of the year, but I can't just start willy-nilly in the middle at this random spot, June 2nd or whatever. So I'm going to go back and start at the beginning of the year. So since I have kept track of everything that I've read this year, I'm going to start my new journal on January the 1st, and the things that I'm going back for, they won't have as much thoughts written in them because obviously I can't remember everything I was thinking 6 months ago, but going forward I should be able to keep track better of my thoughts and the quotes that I loved about each book. And so I am going to turn you over to the voiceover and show you how I set up my brand new book journal. Maybe I should call it book diary. I never was good at keeping diaries though. We'll see. What I already had previously was this ghost grid dot journal, and this is what I use to keep track of all of my reading beforehand. Well, actually, so in the front, I just have a list of all of the books that I own that are unread, and as I read them, I go through and color them in, and there's a ton. They're in here alphabetically, so I'm going to skip all of that because then I just have gone through each month and made a book stack of all the books that I read each month, so I do have track. But the thing is that this doesn't allow me to leave any like thoughts or quotes or anything specific about the books. It's just what the book was, and the page number, publication date, genre, physical book. Then I have if it was owned, library, if it's a reread, but it doesn't actually tell me any of my thoughts. And then I also started keeping track of all the books that I purchased, and then like I have calendars in here of what I'm going to put my video schedule along with like video ideas, and then like TBRs, and it allows me to fill in as I complete my TBR challenges for the month. But like I said, it doesn't allow for any space to leave actual thoughts. And so I have been doing reviews on Goodreads, but I would prefer to, I don't want to put all of my thoughts on Goodreads, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so this is June with the books that I've acquired in June, and my TBR stuff that I have so far written down, and I'll fill that in as I read those. I have a June calendar, and anyway. So I wanted to get a journal where I can keep my thoughts in it more specifically. So the first thing I did in this process was go to Goodreads, to my profile, to the reading challenge on my profile. You click View Challenge, and then it will show you how many books you have read. So I want to click View All, and then it will show me all of the books that I have read with the covers a little bit bigger. Click View More, and it will show you all of the titles. So then I just want to print all of these so that I can put them in my book diary. So when you click print, you may have to adjust the printer settings to get these to be the size that you want. It'll probably be different for, every printer. So yeah, so that's what I did, and then I printed those out. So here they are, all printed out. I think I had read 69 books up to this point, and it turned out to be, I think, 4 or 5 pages of book covers. Yeah, it took longer to cut these out than I thought it would, so if you have a paper cutter, you may want to opt to use that instead of scissors. I do have a paper cutter, and I'm not sure why I didn't use it, but there you have it. So I decided to buy a moleskin journal to use for my new book diary. This is the large size of book journal, and it's a dotted one. I like the dotted ones because they help guide me better, I guess. And they come in a variety of different colors, so you can be sure to choose whichever color that you prefer. It took me a little while to decide how much room I wanted to leave for each book entry, but I finally set myself on half a page here. So I decided that I wanted to make each entry into its own little special box with a different color for each entry because I like to do things colorfully, I guess. And I discovered that the highlighters do bleed through on the moleskin paper, but that was okay with me. If you don't like for your entries to bleed through, you can either skip a page or just don't use highlighters or markers. And I'm sorry that this is a little bit fuzzy here. I'm still kind of working out how to film something over my shoulder like this, and I ended up having to zoom in after the fact, and it's coming out a little bit fuzzy so that you can't see exactly what I'm writing. But the first entry there is The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. I just put the title, the book cover, I put in there with double-sided tape how many stars I gave it. I wrote in how many pages, the year it was published, what type of book it is, and that one was a YA thriller. I wrote in whether or not I own it and whether or not it was a physical book, an ebook, or an audiobook, and then just what date I completed it on. So those are going to be the main entries that I put in for every book that I read, and then I'm leaving space there so that I can go in and fill in my more specific thoughts with exactly what I thought about each book. I also plan on writing in whether or not I unhaul the book or pass it on to a friend or a family member. I'm glad that that will allow me the opportunity to do that, because I have found that sometimes I end up looking for a book, not remembering that I had unhauled it or passed it on to someone else, and being kind of disgruntled that I couldn't find it. So this will allow me to keep a record of that, so I can always go back and check exactly what has happened to a book after I've read it. So I have 6 highlighters here in this rainbow of pastel colors. They're the Stabilo Boss highlighters, and I will be sure to link them down below as well. I love these highlighters. I'm using them for this diary, and these are also the ones that I use to highlight in my books whenever I have a passage that I want to highlight. So I am going to take a break right here, and over many days I have gone back and filled in all of the entries with all of my thoughts on each book that I have read, starting from January the 1st, 2019 up into the current date, which I believe was the beginning of June. And so as I went along, I started to feel like maybe half a page was too much for some entries, too much space for some entries, and not enough for other ones. Like, as you can see, Daisy Jones and the Six ended up needing a full page. And then ones that I DNF'd, you know, they only needed a small page, small section in the page, and other ones just needed a third. So as I go forward in the future, I will be able to section out each entry more appropriately. So thanks for watching this video about my new book diary. I will try to, at the end of the year, do a flip through of the entire thing to show you everything that I have kept track of in there. Hopefully I will be diligent with keeping up with it. And won't you let me know down below in the comments if you keep a book journal or how you keep track of what you have read. I would love to know, and I would also love to know any tips or tricks or anything like that that you have for book journaling or keeping a book diary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.